Hey everybody, I'm back. I just took some time off because I was getting myself together. I am still outside of the United States and will not be back for a while. So yeah, I just spent all of my energy on myself and getting myself together. Anyway, so let me go on with the audio. I want to talk about the youth. And it's really to pose a question to see what everybody's opinion is. It's not really me saying what people should do. It's just I want to know your opinion. And so I've seen a couple of videos, and mostly, black women talking about what happened to the youth and how the older generation, specifically Generation X and Baby Boom, kind of dropped the ball. And here's what I want to say about the generations, even with those generations from what I remember, because I am Generation X. I don't have children, but I am Generation X. What I can remember is that there were some people who tried to stand up and stop, stop what was happening. For example, see Dolores Tucker, right? When a lot of this degrading music was coming out, it was really coming out strong in the 80s and 90s. I mean, it started, before, but it was really getting worse in the 80s and 90s. I mean, 80s was gangster rap, and I remember Crime Boss and all that stuff, but I don't want to go into it. And then you had the 90s. And I have a clip. It's privated, but I think I'm opening it up about see Dolores Tucker when she was specifically talking about an album with Snoop Dogg, and it had a lady bent over, and it was Doggy Style. It was his first album, produced, I think, by Dr. Dre. And so what I say that to say that it's not that nobody tried. It's just that it wasn't enough people who cared. And so, yeah, you can say that, in a lot of ways, people dropped the ball. And then, of course, you got people in different groups, cults, societies, whatever you want to call it, that has taken money from other elites and only cared about themselves at the expense of the entire black community. You have a lot of black people who have done that too, that are in baby boomer generations, maybe Generation X, and prior to those too. A lot of people, have done that. But what I want to say is, I want to get on with it, is that now you have, because I do believe the ball has been dropped, but I do want to give credit to, I say that to say that I do want to give credit to the few people who have tried. And so, see, Dolores Tucker had she was invited on big platforms. I mean, she was on CNN, and I mean, she really got the message out to the point where Tupac and a lot of black male rappers were dogging her out in their songs in the 90s and early 2000s. Okay, so this word really got out, but the problem is a lot of people fought for the degradation. They said, let these men, they have a right to speak their mind, and they have a right to express their art. That's what a lot of these guys were saying, and a lot of women went along with the degradation, okay? And so when you have a community of people that fight, and that a lot of these other record companies, they not gonna care because they have an invested interest in keeping black people down. So they not gonna fight against the degradation, but the black community should have done it back then, and they didn't. They fought, and a lot of people was going up against her, saying that these guys had a right to express their art, even though it was at the expense of black women and black people altogether, because it wasn't just about sexualizing black women. It was about gang violence and drugs. Now, I remember that stuff because I actually grew up on it, okay? So I just want to give credit to the people who did try. I don't want to say nobody said anything, because that's not fair. Now, here's why I want to go with a couple of ladies that are so concerned, and I don't blame them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them having a heart, but they're concerned about the youth, right? And they talk about how, It's everybody's responsibility, especially everybody in Generation X and everybody in the baby boomer and everybody who's just older, period. It's their responsibility to help the youth. Okay, well, I'm not going to, that's her opinion, and she has a right to that. But this is just what I have to say. This is just my feelings about it as well, right? Number one, a lot of people did not listen to to the people who foresaw what was coming. That's number one. But here's the biggest one that I want to get on. A lot of irresponsible parents, black women and black men, continue to procreate, knowing goodness well that there is no plan for these children. And a lot of these children end up in these ghettos, suffering. And, and I want to especially talk about the women, even though the men are just as responsible because their sperm was used. But I want to especially talk about the people with their wombs, because a lot of the women who might have had 3, 4 children, all different fathers, and I'm specifically talking about the ones that continue to birth children in poverty, right? It's not that people didn't try to give them wisdom. And I learned this because I made a video about a woman who continued to birth 4, 5, 6, 7 children in poverty. I made a video about that. And a few ladies came on under the comment section talking about how, no, people did try to talk to these ladies. In this case, in their families, people did try to talk to a lot of these ladies. These ladies did not want to listen. They wanted to do things their way. Another example is No Wedding, No Womb. How a lot of people hopped on Crystalline Carrison because she wrote that book, No Wedding, No Womb. Okay. And another one is, I was watching a video by what's her name? Deborah Cooper. And she talked about teenage pregnancy and how it is just it's not healthy for for the black community. I know a lot of people say there's no black community. I agree with that, but I'm just wording it how a lot of people like to say it. They call it the black community, right? And so she even said that people went up against her when she tried to talk about how teenage pregnancy is a problem. Now, why would a community, and when I talk about community, I'm talking about grown people as well in their 30s and 40s, talk against Deborah Cooper when she speaks out against teenage pregnancy? Okay, now why would a community go against that? See what I'm saying? And so I say that to say that, and even one person talked about how, you have women that say, well, you can't tell me what to do with my womb. It's my womb, and I'm going to do what I want to do with it. So basically, they can abort the child, and they can have 5 or 6, 7 kids in poverty. Okay, now here's where I'm going with people saying it's everybody's job to look after the youth. Now, I don't have anything against the youth, but I think people have a right to choose who they want to mentor, like me. When I get to a point when I want to mentor little girls, I'm going to choose who I want to do it. I'm not going to be for all of the youth. And the reason being is because a lot of people were irresponsible with their wombs. When you had people that came out to try to talk against what was going on, it was people that tried to come out and talk about the use of condoms, the use of different types of contraception. But a lot of folks, and I hate to say it, but I talked to some ladies that's in social work. They have confirmed that a lot of these ladies like to have a bunch of these children like that, even though there's no plan and they are impoverished already with the 3 or 4 kids they have. They're gonna have another one. Well, a lot of it's other women that work in social work. They've told me that a lot of those ladies do it because of welfare. That's what they told me, and they work directly with those women. So I'm not gonna argue with people who have experience. Now, if there's a different story to this, I mean, feel free to comment. But when you have people who have experience, because I don't talk to these ladies like that. But, and I'm talking about the ladies who have all these children. I don't really talk to them like that. But the women, people who work in, social work and work closely with these ladies, say a lot of them continue to have these children like that, knowing that most likely the father will not be around because of welfare, because they'll get money. And even though it's not a whole lot of money, that's just what they've witnessed. And I can't argue with them because they have experience over me. You know what I mean? And so with that said, I don't feel like people who have tried to make the right choices in their lives should be responsible for all. And I'm saying capital ALL. I don't think they should be responsible for the youth, all of the youth, when you have a lot of women and men. But a lot of women, I feel like they can choose if they want to give birth or not. I do feel like women have a lot of power. I do. Although I do put responsibility on this man too for running around getting a lot of women pregnant, too, getting 10 women pregnant at a time or more, And so, like one person said, she said, well, women said, you can't tell me what to do with my womb. And this has been said many times when certain people try to give these ladies wisdom and say, well, what is your plan for this life that you bring into the world? Are they going to struggle? Are they going to be another person? Like, for example, I was, looking at the mayhem in Chicago over a month ago before I left the United States. Right? It was a lot of killings. There's been a lot of killings going on in Chicago, but I see this lady who was pregnant and obviously impoverished. And my question is, okay, what is her plan for this life that she's bringing into the world in the middle of this war zone? What is her plan for this life? She's going to birth a child in the middle of a war zone, and then everybody, especially black women, because black men, a lot of them have made it clear that they are not responsible for the youth. A lot of black men have made that clear, okay? And so the way it's going to go on the black women to help to mentor all of this youth after these responsible people brought them into this world, and especially women that birthed them in the middle of a war zone, okay, and have no plan for how this child is going to be safe or how they're going to keep this child safe. How are you going to keep this child from being shot in a drive-by, okay? And so with that being said, I would just say my opinion, and people can say their opinions too. I feel like you can pick and choose who you want to mentor, but I do not believe, in my case, it is my responsibility just because I'm older. It is not my responsibility to try to help all of the youth when you had these women and men, but men just don't care, okay? And so when you see a bunch of men who don't care, that's when it's time for women to shut it down. Shut it down and say, until these boys have some positive real male role models in their lives, because that's what's wrong with them, until they have some positive real male role models, until the fathers stick around more, we're not going to have any more children. So this is going to have to go to the women to say they should have shut that down, because it's clear that these men were very careless with their semen, okay? And because these ladies wanted to have an attitude towards people who wanted to just give them wisdom, I don't feel like now it is my responsibility to feel some type of obligation to all, and I do mean A, capital ALL. I don't feel like it's my responsibility to have some type of obligation to all of the youth when people continue to, in 2018 and probably in 2019, to still be careless with their reproduction after everything they witnessed in 2017 and 2018 in the age of Trump, with everything that's going on, with everything they continue to witness, they still continue to be careless with their reproduction, and then turn around and say, oh, but it's your responsibility. You're obligated to the youth. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And I know that's not a light mother way of thinking. The light mother will say, oh, well, they didn't ask to be in this world, so we got to care about all of them. No, absolutely not. You have a right to choose, because you are not responsible for people who are reckless with their wombs and their semen, or just reckless with procreation. You're not responsible for, the outcomes of that. You're not. Okay? Because a lot of people did come along and try to share wisdom. Okay? These people know about contraception. They know about how to prevent births. Okay? But a lot of them did not want to listen. And for that reason, I don't feel like, in my case, that I am obligated to all of them. I'm only obligated to those who I choose to want to mentor, okay? But with that being said, just let me know your opinion, and I will talk to you soon.